So I'm sure everybody and their mother knows at this point that Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed to February 14 next year. So around 4 months from when I'm making this video. And around the time it was delayed, there was a lot that happened. We saw the first look at Ghost of Yotei, which I'm very excited for, but my most anticipated game next year is still the new Yakuza Pirate game. Anyway, since the delay, there's been a lot of, well, let's just say misinformation that was being said by an absurd amount of people on YouTube, and many people ate into the lies and believed it. I've seen insane claims that Yasuke will be removed. The delay was because of Ghost of Yotei, which I'll get into later in the video. Stuff such as the game will not sell well because of the game's releasing in February, and also apparently Assassin's Creed Shadows pre-orders are very low, which once again I'll get into later in the video. We got a new article from Tom Henderson regarding Shadows, and the real truth behind the delay. So yeah, I don't want to make this video quite long, as there is no need, so let's just get into it. First off, let's talk about the delay itself, as I have not said a word about it. Now, in my opinion, I'm all for it. I don't mind the delay at all. Yes, it is a bit annoying that we cannot play the game sooner, but would you rather another Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Unity situation, where the game launches in quite a buggy state, or would you rather have a polished experience on day one? In fact, the release of Unity was filled with so many bugs and glitches that the actual release hurt the game's reputation for a long time. Of course, right now it's completely playable, but you can see the lasting impact it had for years. This Shadows delay also meant that preview events were also cancelled, so creators and journalists and whatnot are not able to play the game anytime soon as it was previously expected. While Ubisoft's official statement attributes the delay to the game's ambitious scope and the need for additional polish, it is pretty safe to say that they're taking no chances with this game flopping. In fact, they're taking no chances with it flopping that they're releasing Shadows on Steam day one, which is a big change from Ubisoft's usual push to get players on Ubisoft Connect. This is probably a smart move to boost sales. However, I can't see a review bomb happening with Shadows on Steam, so expect that, I guess. Now, apart from the Steam release being a day one thing, the game when it launches in February will also come with the first expansion for free. This also means Ubisoft are refunding any pre-orders for the game, which makes sense of course. In fact, I've always been against Ubisoft releasing pre-orders so early before any gameplay was shown, so refunding pre-orders is pretty expected. Also, this delay will cost them around $22 million, which is quite hefty. And also, missing Prime holiday season could potentially hurt overall sales even more, because releasing a game in October or November is something that Ubisoft has always done with this franchise. Another interesting thing to note in regards to this delay is this, which was said by Ubisoft's CEO in an internal memo. They're using the extra time to introduce some high impact secondary quests. Now, this is something that is a positive, no matter how you look at it. In the past Assassin's Creed games, side quests have always been hit or miss. Some of the earlier games featured repetitive fetch quests or tasks that didn't add much depth at all. So whatever this statement means, hopefully it's something good and memorable. Now, the information that I went over is around a week old, but as of me making this video, a new article by Insider Gaming was released. Now, before I go over what was said, I want to make sure everyone watching understands this. Do not believe everything that you see on YouTube. I know it's a bit ironic considering I'm making this video, but the truth is, a lot of people don't have all the facts. In fact, I did not make a video instantly going over the delay, because at that time it was all speculation as to why it was delayed. The best approach is to just wait for an official statement from Ubisoft or reliable sources like Insider Gaming to give us the real story. So just be cautious about what you come across on YouTube. In fact, there is a YouTuber that I won't name that attributes Ubisoft's stock flopping entirely just to Shadows, which is just absurd to even say to your audience. Anyway, the new article released today is quite interesting. Tom Henderson highlights that the delay is partly due to the underwhelming launch of Star Wars Outlaws, both in terms of reviews and sales. Critics gave it a 76 out of 100 on Metacritic, but the user score was even rougher, dropping down to 5.4 out of 10. While it did sell over a million copies according to Insider Gaming, that's still pretty low and way below what Ubisoft was expecting, and it's definitely raised some red flags within the company. And because of this rough launch of Star Wars Outlaws, it's had a kind of ripple effect on other Ubisoft projects, especially Assassin's Creed Shadows, which we know got pushed to February next year. Ubisoft says the delay is to polish and refine the game, but behind the scenes, Star Wars Outlaws' poor performance was a big part of the decision. In fact, the Ubisoft CEO even mentioned Outlaws in an internal memo, using it as an example of how rushing a game can lead to disappointing results. Now, what caught my attention in this article was this, where he states that Yasuke is not going to be removed, which sounds kind of fucking ridiculous to even say. When this delay happened, there was a lot of people on YouTube saying that Yasuke will be removed. Now, first of all, people that are making those videos are quite evidently doing it for the clicks, and my god is it working, because goddamn, that's a lot of views. But the reality is Yasuke is not being removed. First of all, the delay is a few months, and removing the entirety of Yasuke is something you do not do in 3 to 4 months. I mean, just think about it. You have to literally remove his presence as a main character out of the game. You have to remove the side content related to him. You would also have to remove every piece of dialogue that even mentions him. You need to change the entire story, which is something that takes years, not 3 to 4 months. And you could even say that they need to redo the expansions if they have not already started writing them. Are you telling me 3 or 4 months is enough to do that? I mean, come on. A bit of brain power is needed here. Now, something else that was interesting in the article is this, where Tom Henderson states, sources have said the team have been actively addressing many of the historical and cultural concerns, which started before the game's reveal following external playtests and were accelerated further following the game's initial reveal and mass feedback. This includes changing some of Yasuke's story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensuring that the game is historically grounded while fitting into the Assassin's Creed universe. Now, first of all, changing some of Yasuke's story, I have no idea what this could even be in reference to. It kind of says to me that there was something quite controversial on top of everything that was already shown. I'm quite interested to know what your theories might be in terms of changing some of Yasuke's story. Could this be the samurai side of his character? Maybe they're completely changing that. But that also goes back to it being something that takes more than 3 to 4 months to change. I just think it's stupid that they gave in and are changing stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's a video game, it's not real life. What was also mentioned was fixing architectural details and ensuring the game is historically grounded while fitting into the AC universe. Now this is good, it's at least a positive step. It seems like Ubisoft are fixing and changing all of the historical concerns that were talked about, and that is good. So I'd assume this would be things such as fixing the banners on flags, fixing architecture of temples and buildings to make sure it's Japanese and not something else entirely, stuff that is offensive, and just ensuring the changes are respectful to Japanese culture, which is something that should have been a thing in the first place. Mistakes like these from a big studio such as Ubisoft should not even be implemented. Tom Henderson mentions that the historical experts that Ubisoft brought onto the project were brought onto it much later than usual for a project of this magnitude, and that's a good point. For how massive this game is and how culture heavy the focus is, it is very strange that Ubisoft had these issues with historical experts and communication. Another interesting thing to note from this article is this, where Tom Henderson mentions, while the game isn't matching Valhalla in pre-order numbers, which launched on Steam and past generation consoles, the numbers are solid and are likely to rise further given its Steam release announcement. Now, of course, I'm sure a lot of people knew that Shadows would not sell more than Valhalla, because Valhalla had COVID to massively help with the sales, as well as it being released with the PS5. But he did mention the pre-order numbers for Shadows are solid. Now remember that, solid. In fact, Tom Henderson has reiterated so many goddamn times that the pre-orders are solid, and I think he's saying it a few times because there's been so many people out there saying Shadows has about 7% of what Valhalla had during the same period, which once again, just like Yasuke being removed, is an absurd thing to say. And that is the article that was released today as of me making this video. But I'm not going to end the video right here because there are a few more things I need to address regarding this delay that I'm seeing everywhere. The first thing is the idiotic take that Shadows was delayed because of Ghost of Yotei, and Ubisoft is scared of that game. Now, do me a favor, close your eyes and think about that for a second. If they were scared of Ghost of Yotei, why on God's green earth would they push Shadows even closer to Yotei's release date? Wouldn't it make more sense for them to stick to the original launch? Sometimes just a bit of logic goes a long way. But hey, it's the internet, right? And negativity is what drives the attention nowadays. Another thing I want to address is something that is quite reasonable to assume, and I don't blame anybody for thinking this, but the games that are releasing in February next year will overshadow and cause Shadows to flop. Now first of all, the games releasing in February are insane. I am probably going to play a lot of them, but the thing with those games, so that's Monster Hunter Wilds, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I guess you could say Yakuza Pirates, is that these games are very niche. Yes, they have a massive fan base, but they are also very niche. These games are not like GTA 6 or the new Call of Duty, where half the world are going to play it. A certain fanbase will play Monster Hunter Wilds, a certain fanbase will play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and the same for Yakuza Pirates. In fact, these three games I mentioned are not similar to Shadows. If it was Ghost of Yotei releasing in February, then I agree 100%. Shadows will be fucked. So yeah, just bear that in mind. It's a stacked month, but I doubt it's going to affect Shadows as much as people are saying it's going to. But that one is just my opinion. And the last thing I want to address is the people that are saying Shadows is the last AC game. So if you don't know, Assassin's Creed Hex and Invictus are the next two big AC games releasing after Shadows, and some people believe that these games will not be a thing anymore. Well, thank God for Tom Henderson, because he came out and replied to somebody asking about the future AC games, and he said that Hex will be coming out in 2026 as it originally was, as well as Invictus in late 2025. Now, of course, this can be subject to change at any point, but given that the development for both of these games are still on, it shows the future of Assassin's Creed is still intact. And that brings us to the end of the video. I know some of the stuff I said in this video seemed a bit kind of ranty, but I had to just bring up some points that I needed to say. Also, if you're ever wondering why you never see the word woke or DEI in my comments, it's because I have a filter activated, so people that say stupid shit just automatically get sent to the shadow realm. I think it's best to maintain a positive community, because at the end of the day, I am an Assassin's Creed YouTuber that talks about everything Assassin's Creed related, from old games to new games, to lore, to rankings, to mysteries and so on. I'm not a drama channel, and nor do I ever plan to stoop that low.